focus rack.
Cook it.
Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to go over to the tower, right, and wait downstairs, and when team 1 are ready and they're coming down, come over and tell me, so I can get team 3 ready. Is that okay? So you just have to wait downstairs, okay, and when team 1 come down, come over and tell me, will you? Perfect, thank you, Jacob.
So what are we doing here now, Brendan?
What we're doing here is just getting some team juggling, because some people have to leave early, so we're making sure they can ring first.
That's what I need, silence. Okay, so team 1 have finished ringing at the moment, and team 2 are waiting there at the end. They're going to go up to the tower. So now we need to get team 3 ready. So team 3 is Vivian, Beulah, Joan G. Joan G, great. Maud Lindsay.
She's here.
Perfect. Helen, that's me. Sarah Martin.
Yeah, here.
Sarah's there. Graham M. and Andrew. Andrew, perfect.
5-4.
Team 1 are up in the tower at the moment, Brendan, and as soon as they're finished ringing, I have somebody over there who's going to be a ringer, and they'll come back and tell me, and then team 2 is going to go up, and we'll have team 3 ready. So it just sounded like a plan. I hope it works out like that. But, yeah.
What is your office after that time?
We're Brendan, and I'm following Grania.
All the time.
Ken, I don't believe this. Somebody ringing 30 years described themselves as a beginner or ringer.
Some people never learn. That's the truth. Picture certainly.
Thank you very much. Just want to say thank you very much to everybody for coming today, and especially to the Archbishop.
Thank you.
We're delighted to have you here, and it's made the day extra special for Cyril as well. So I just want to say thanks to everybody for your help today. I'm not going to name names because I'm going to leave somebody out. I know I am. So whatever part you played, whether you were up in the tower, or whether you were outside doing a barbecue, or doing the sound, or whatever it was during the day, or you brought something along, or you did a long journey from Cork, Limerick, the north, wherever, I just want to let's give us all a big clap. Thank you also to everybody who took part in the bell ringing. I think we all agree that it was a good competition. And we have a few speeches before the prizes are presented. So the first one I'm going to start with is Darryl, because Darryl is from Limerick, and his family have a long history of bell ringing in Limerick, and of course Cyril started his bell ringing in Limerick.
But as Helen said, I'm from Limerick, and just as kind of a connection to the Limerick folk that are here today, and the very fact, of course, that Cyril is from Limerick. As we all know, Cyril came up to Dublin about maybe 300 years ago to start his career in Dublin, or to actually continue his career in Dublin with his family, and obviously then bell ringing around the city. So Helen said, look, as a part of the Limerick Connection, can you go back, go down to Limerick and talk to some of Cyril's contemporaries and get some juicy gossip on Cyril growing up. Now, to put it bluntly, Cyril's pretty much outlasted all his contemporaries, so I don't have much in the way of gossip, but I do have one story. When I was a kid growing up, we had this thing in Limerick which promoted St. Mary's Cathedral. It was a Sunday luminaire. It was a light and sound event, which tourists would come in and listen to the story of Limerick and the cathedral and the tower through the medium of light and sound. And one of the stories that had come out of it, and we kind of learned it as bell ringers growing up there in Limerick as well, was that the bells in Limerick actually had come from someplace else. They'd been stolen. And what it was that the rumour was that there was a merchant in the Italian Venice region around the Renaissance era that had cast and paid for this wonderful set of bells. Best bells in the world, apparently. Really tuneful, really sounded well. Really, they put people into a nice frame of mind when they heard them, but they were stolen back in the 1400s. And so this poor merchant was stricken and just sad and couldn't live his life anymore until he found his bells. And he searched the world, travelled the world by boat, and eventually he was coming up one year on sailboat up the Shannon when he could hear this set of bells coming out of St. Mary's. And he said, "They are my bells." I'm not going to do Italian accent, but "they are my bells." He listened, and the next thing keeled over and died. So that was the sad part of the story. But the interesting part of the story was I found afterwards it was actually Cyril who stole them. has been ringing them ever since. But look, it's just to say, Cyril, if you go down to the towers in Limerick, particularly St. Mary's, and you see all the photographs, and the photographs in black and white, and they go back to that era, Cyril's there front and centre. He's there with my granddad, he's there with my dad, he's there with my uncles. He was part of that scene through the 40s and 50s before you guys stole him and brought him to Dublin. So all I want to say, just from the Limerick contingent, Cyril, congratulations on today, fantastic day today, and thank you very much, and hope you're ringing for many years to come. Well done, sir.
We actually are keeping it in the Brislan family now, and we're going to ask Kieran to come and say a few words to Cyril and to make a presentation.
As Darrell alluded to, we are a family of Belleringers. Our dad and grandfather before us all wrong, all with Cyril, back in the 18 whatevers and all of that. And Darrell, there are still one or two of Cyril's contemporaries around, believe it or not. So if I throw one or two names to him, he will remember Tom Morrison, Dad Brian Brislane, cousin Kenneth Brislane, Cyril Foster, Paddy Handley, Hugh O'Brien, people like that. So they've all sent their greetings to you on this day. They're not able to ascend bell towers in Limerick quite as easily as you are. You have these lovely spiral staircases and very easy to get up. St Mary's Cathedral, Mount St Alphonsus still have the stone stairways through the lift is next year. So I just hope you'll be down for it. But the other connection between St Mary's Cathedral and Limerick and Taney and Cyril, apart from, of course, the rector Canon Warren, who served his time in Limerick and rang the bells as well, in case you didn't know it. He is a bellringer, fully fledged and all of that. But there is one other connection, and the current dean in Limerick is actually Niall Sloan, very Reverend Niall Sloan. And when he heard this was happening today, he said in no uncertain terms, you have to remember him to Cyril. And he also gave me this little gift on behalf of the parish of Limerick City, behalf of the Bellringers of Limerick, and all your friends still down the Cyril. It's a small little token from the Dean to say, well done, and don't forget us. Okay?
I'd like to invite Derek McAdoo, to the ringing master at St Patrick's Cathedral, to come and say a few words.
Okay, I'm going to say very few words to you. I actually remember when Cyril came to Dublin in 1968. I'd been ringing a few years already in St Patrick's at that stage, and I remember Cyril and David coming. And in St Patrick's we were very lucky that he actually chose St Patrick's to come and ring, because he had some other options. And he came and he rang in St Patrick's, and we were always very, very pleased. We were very lucky in those days because we had still the remnants of the band from that were trained by Gabriel Lindoff. We had Reg George, Harry Brown, Bill Farrell, Herbie Jones, and those people. And we're very lucky. They were very high standard of ringing, and Cyril just fitted in very nicely with that. He rang with us for 40 odd years, and then the stairs, unfortunately, St Patrick's got too much for him. And last year he was elected one of the first honorary members of St Patrick's Society. So I just want to say that we are very grateful for the years of service that Cyril gave us in St. Patrick's, and we want to thank him for that. Thank you.
Okay, the bells we have here in Taney today originally came from St. George's Church in Hardwick near Eccles Street. In 1990, the St. George's Church closed down and the bells went into storage for 10 years. Then Cyril was part of the group who was very instrumental in having those bells brought here. So I'm going to ask Robert to come and say a few words about Cyril and his involvement with the parish.
Thanks, Helen. Archbishop, Cyril, and I hesitate to say fellow bell ringers because even though I know how to ring a bell, I haven't been a very assiduous bell ringer in my years here in Taney. But on behalf of us all here at the parish and community of Taney, I'd like to welcome you all here today for this wonderful occasion. And I'd like to thank Cyril for the wonderful year, Cyril, that you've given us here in Taney, because it isn't often these days that the Church of Ireland parish gets pride of place on the front page of the Irish Times or on the daily television news. But you gave us that honour, Cyril, and I know too that we were all invited to the Mansion House where the Lord Mayor hosted a wonderful reception in your honour and in the honour of the Dublin bell ringers. So, Cyril, thank you so much for lasting as long as you have, because that's the key to it. I learned to ring bells in St. George's some 45 years ago when I was assigned as a lay reader and when I was training for the ordained ministry to St. George's. So it almost sort of brought the circle together again when I came here 7 years ago to find that the bells that I learned on were here. And the common denominator between St. George's and here was that both those towers were easy to get up to. All the others, you sort of were way, way up there. St. George's had a wonderful, easy stairway up, and very similarly here as well. We're very proud of Cyril here in Taney. He's been a wonderful parishioner for so many years. I've only been the rector here for the past 7 years, but it was great to make the acquaintance of Cyril again. And Cyril, on behalf of us all, thank you for the honour that you have brought the bell ringing community in Dublin, the honour that you've brought to the bell ringers here in Taney, and for being such a wonderful parishioner and friend. God bless you. May you last for another age.
It's very easy to organise something if people all chip in. You know, as soon as it was mentioned, it was, what can I do? Put me on the list. And it wasn't just put me on the list and, oh, I'll forget about it, I hope you don't come back to me. It was put me on the list and I will follow you up until you give me something to do. So, you know, it's great when you have a team like that. I have just been prompted, because I almost forgot, the one person we want to hear a speech from, and that's Cyril.
I don't know what to say. I'm really dumbfounded. First of all, I'd like to say thank the man above for giving me nearly 100 years. People don't believe me. I could have made a lot of money in this, you know. I say to people, how will I give you 10 years? I'll give you a tenner. But none of them took me up. But anyway, I appreciate very much His Grace coming here today.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you.
I had a very nice letter from him. When I appeared for the first time, on the Irish Times. And I appreciate very much his kind words. I'm delighted to be here this evening, naturally, and honoured that so many of you took the trouble to come up and take part in this day. It's really an honour, and I appreciate very much every one of you. I hate to mention anybody by name, as Helen has already said, because you always leave somebody else that you should mention. But apart from Helen and Brian and Michael, this day would never have happened, and they put a tremendous amount of work in it. You all know my you all know my history in Bellery. I started in St Mary's in Limerick, and I was transferred to Dublin in '68 and started ringing in St Patrick's Cathedral. I have a soft spot for St Patrick's because when we rang in Limerick, it was always call changes. We didn't even get as far as the plain hunt. I was looking through some papers the other day, and I came across an old report from the Irish Association, and in the 40s and 50s, between St Mary's and Mount St Alphonsus, we won the Murphy Cup 30 times. But it was all call changes in those days. But when I came to Dublin, I went to St Patrick's. I started change ringing, and I must appreciate all the help we got at that time. The whole thing is, the reason that people say to me, why did you keep bell ringing all this time? And it was change ringing. It's so interesting, and there's so many different methods, and the striking can be very, very good. But anyway, that's what kept me going anyway. There's not much else I can say except thank you very much again. Thank you very much.
Brendan.
Thank you all for coming and taking part. And the winning team today, after a process of very straightforward blind judging by Cyril and his compatriots, was Team 8. So can I have the conductor, Colin, come up again, except the Colin. Yep. Come in, Colin. Come in. You take a step that direction. There we go, and it'll be from this gentleman here.
Ladies and gentlemen, the excitement was tangible when the result was announced. And what's really wonderful is the expression of a quick and a definitive decision. So I suppose it falls to me just to do one thing, which is to thank and to congratulate everybody who came here today and everybody who took part. And also, I think, to congratulate within that the team which takes this magnificent trophy in honour of the person around whom we have gathered and whose lifelong contribution, interest and energy we remember with tremendous delight and thanksgiving. So Cyril, I wouldn't be standing here if you weren't sitting behind me. I have great pleasure in presenting this to you and congratulating you and all members of your team on what clearly has been a magnificent afternoon, well executed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to say thanks again to the Archbishop for coming and for Robert and Nigel being here as well. And of course, Cyril, we couldn't have it without you. So thank you everybody for coming and safe journey home.